Hey guys, welcome back. It is Wednesday, April 22nd. Let's take a look at what we've got to complete for today. So we've got to pick up where we left off, starting off by reading pages 46 to 55 in Fahrenheit 451. We are working on the second half of our part one guide, and then we're going to complete the corresponding reading task. So let's go ahead and take a look at our part one guide so we know what we're completing. Scroll down, you should have these sections completed already. And this section from 45 to 55 is what we're looking at today. So your task is, in your own words, explain Beatty's argument about society, communication, and censorship. What are the 3 reasons he gives for the government turning to censorship? If you are unclear on what censorship means, you might want to pull open another tab and Google that. That is essential to being able to state his argument. So here you're just going to summarize his argument for me and then just list those 3 reasons. So a pretty simple reading task for today. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get started reading together, picking up with page 46 in our online text. So him and Mildred are talking currently. Will you bring me aspirin and water? You've got to get up, she said. It's noon. You've slept 5 hours later than usual. Will you turn the parlor off? He asked. That's my family. So remember what he means by this is will you turn the TV parlor off? So what Mildred is able to do or what she's had installed are TVs that take over an entire wall. So he's asking her to turn it off. He doesn't feel well, supposedly. When she says that's my family, she's referring to the family in the TV show that she watches consistently. Will you turn it off for a sick man? I'll turn it down. She went out of the room and did nothing. She went out of the room and did nothing to the parlor and came back. Is that better? Thanks. My favorite program, she said. What about the aspirin? You've never been sick before. She went away again. Well, I'm sick now. I'm not going to work tonight. Call Beatty for me. You acted funny last night. She returned, humming. Where's the aspirin? He glanced at the water glass she handed him. Oh, she walked to the bathroom again. Did something happen? A fire is all. I had a nice evening, she said in the bathroom. What doing? The parlor. What was on? Programs. What programs? Some of the best ever. Who? Oh, you know, the bunch. Yes, the bunch, the bunch, the bunch. He pressed at the pain in his eyes, and suddenly the odor of kerosene made him vomit. Mildred came in, humming. She was surprised. Why'd you do that? He looked with dismay at the floor. We burned an old woman with her books. It's a good thing the rug's washable. She fetched a mop and worked on it. I went to Helen's last night. Couldn't you get the shows in your own parlor? Sure, but it's nice visiting. She went out into the parlor. He heard her singing. Mildred, he called. She returned, singing, snapping her fingers softly. Aren't you going to ask me about last night? He said. What about it? We burned 1,000 books. We burned a woman. Well? The parlor was exploding with sound. We burned copies of Dante and Swift and Marcus Aurelius. Wasn't he a European? Something like that. Wasn't he a radical? I never read him. He was a radical. Mildred fiddled with the telephone. You don't expect me to call Captain Beatty, do you? You must. Don't shout. I wasn't shouting. He was up in bed, suddenly enraged and flushed, shaking. The parlor roared in the hot air. I can't call him. I can't tell him I'm sick. Why? Because you're afraid, he thought. A child feigning illness, afraid to call because after a moment's discussion the conversation would run so. Yes, Captain, I feel better already. I'll be in at 10 o'clock tonight. You're not sick, said Mildred. Montag fell back in bed. He reached under his pillow. The hidden book was still there. Mildred, how would it be if, well, maybe I quit my job a while? You want to give up everything after all these years of working because one night some woman and her books? You should have seen her, Millie. She's nothing to me. She shouldn't have had books. It was her responsibility. She should have thought of that. I hate her. She's got you going, and next thing you know, we'll be out, no house, no job, no nothing. You weren't there. You didn't see, he said. There must be something in books, things we can't imagine, to make a woman stay in a burning house. There must be something there. You don't stay for nothing. She was simple-minded. She was as rational as you and I, more so perhaps, and we burned her. That's water under the bridge. No, not water, fire. You ever seen a burnt house? It smolders for days. Well, this fire will last me the rest of my life. God, I'm trying to put it out in my mind all night. I'm crazy with trying. You should have thought of that before becoming a fireman. Thought? He said, was I given a choice? My grandfather and father were firemen. In my sleep, I ran after them. The parlor was playing a dancing tune. This is the day you go on the early shift, said Mildred. You should have gone 2 hours ago. I just noticed. It's not just that the woman died, said Montag. Last night I thought about all the kerosene I've used in the past 10 years, and I thought about books. And for the first time, I realized that a man was behind each one of the books. A man had to think them up. A man had to take a long time to put them down on paper. And I'd never even thought that thought before. He got out of bed. It took some man a lifetime maybe to put some of his thoughts down, looking around at the world and life, and then I came along in 2 minutes and boom, it's all over. Let me alone, said Mildred. I didn't do anything. Let you alone? That's all very well, but how can I leave myself alone? We need not to be let alone. We really need to be bothered once in a while. How long is it since you were really bothered about something important, about something real? And then he shut up, for he remembered last week, and the two white stones staring up at the ceiling, and the pump snake with the probing eye, and the two soap-faced men with cigarettes moving in their mouths when they talked. But that was another Mildred. That was a Mildred so deep inside this one, and so bothered, really bothered, that the two women had never met. He turned away. So remember, here he's referring back to her overdose on the sleeping pills. Mildred said, well, now you've done it. Out front of the house. Look who's here. I don't care. So to see who is here, I would like y'all to go ahead and continue reading from 50 to 55 on your own. And then remember, once you're done with the reading, you'll click back to your part 1 guide. You'll summarize Beatty's argument about society, communication, and censorship, and then list his 3 reasons for the government turning censorship. If you need any support or assistance, you can always shoot me an email or pop in on my office hours. And I look forward to talking to y'all soon. Bye.